This summer, there have been 4 fatal shootings by Edmonton police. After camera footage surfaced of a black man who was shot and killed by an officer in June, there's been a public outcry for justice. ASIRT is still investigating this case, along with 3 others. For more on how the police service is responding while those investigations are underway, we're joined by EPS Chief Dale McFee. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Mark.
So this summer, 4 people have been shot and killed by police. Does that concern you?
Well, I mean, any officer involved use of force is something that we obviously take fairly serious, or very serious, I should say. And, you know, these incidents are not only hard on our officers and hard on our police community, but they're also hard on our community as well. So, you know, we're confident in the process that's set up in relation to the ASIRT investigation. I think just like anybody else, we'd like it to be quicker. But yeah, I mean, it's something that's concerned, but it's also something that, you know, there's ebbs and flows, and, you know, each circumstance is obviously quite a bit different. And, you know, I think it's important for fairness of justice for all, including the officers, including their families, that we have to ensure that the investigation is done thorough, and I'm very confident in the process that Alberta has. Being fairly or really familiar with all of this across the country, I think our Alberta process is second to none, and you know, we have to let it take its course and continue to look at what are some of the causes of this. But as I said, each circumstance is different. You know, the violence in relation to the street, was there weapons involved? You know, were there drugs involved? If so, what type of drugs? We know meth particularly drives violence, but as I said, every circumstance is different, and I think we've seen over the years escalating violence right across the world, but certainly on our streets as well. And the good news is we have been making some success in the firearms investigations and other things to start to level out that violence, but there are still moments of it for sure.
What happens to an officer after they're involved in a shooting death?
Immediately, they obviously come off duty. We have to obviously have all the appropriate assessments. We have to make sure that they're available for the ASIRT investigators to be able to speak with them and to do the necessary interviews to obviously help collect the facts of the case. And, you know, we have a fairly comprehensive reintegration program, including psychologists, and actually EPS has a reintegration program that we've actually pretty much trained across the world, many different police services, including New Zealand, and many national organizations in relation to in Canada. So, you know, we're confident in that process, but I mean, ultimately our goal is to obviously ensure the safety of our officers, ensure the safety of our community. But, you know, I think everybody has to step back and just realize we have to let the process go. No particular officer that I've ever seen goes out thinking or hoping that they're going to have to use lethal force against a community member, but they also have families and lives and community members to protect. So it's a complex investigation, and you know, the best thing that we can do right now is let the process unfold.
Now, CBC requested information on the work status of the officer who shot Mathios Arcangelo. He was the black man who was seen on camera with his hands in the air before he was shot. And this is unusual that we see the video of this this quickly. We were told this officer was returned to active duty. So how does that decision be made?
Yeah, and I mean, as you mentioned, just I want to address the video at start. I mean, again, a portion of a video, and as you're aware, and we've talked to before, some of these videos don't point the whole picture. Certainly it is part of the evidence, and those people that put those videos out, I think, need to first step back and realize that they're not helping the justice process. They're not helping ASIRT in relation to letting them do their independent investigation. They're not helping the families by doing this stuff. But I think that the second part of that, as you mentioned, the reintegration program. Again, we have a comprehensive reintegration program that basically takes the individual off the street. They work with them for weeks or however long it takes. If necessary, long term, they have access to psychologists. Most of our folks go through a psychological assessment, making sure they're okay, that they're fit for duty, they're active duty. And once those decisions are made by many professionals along the way, then the decision is made to return them to active duty. and obviously help them start to bridge the gap to get back on the streets. So those are generally the cases of how this happens.
So is this officer patrolling now, or is he at a desk?
No, this officer is back to active duty, obviously working with the group, the folks that we do, obviously tracking to see how he's doing, and obviously keeping a close eye on him, obviously for his own wellness and for the wellness of everybody else. So, as I said, that's one part of this whole process that I'm very confident in. I've, as I said to you before, been around policing a long time, and our process is probably the best I've seen. And but it's also ensuring that we're looking after our folks that are also out there protecting our citizens.
Now, Arcangelo was killed on June 29th, so it's been a month and a half.
Yeah.
Are you confident that's enough time?
Well, I mean, as I say, reintegration is, you step back to work. So absolutely, there's lots of processes in place that we work with that individual to ensure that the monitoring and checking back in and talking. So it's not something where it's a one and done. It's a process. So yes, I'm confident in the process, and the time frame will be what it is.
Now, you mentioned the video. And people, who have seen the video, and we have the video of it, and I believe it was from a local, like from a doorbell camera or something, a video of one of the neighbors, right? And a lot of people say that speaks to the transparency. We didn't show the whole video because we don't want to show someone actually being killed on video. But some people say it speaks to transparency, that we see what happens in that case. Why do you think that video is not a good idea being released?
Well, I just think, there's a justice process. When I say released, I think it needs to be released to the investigators first and foremost, and let them look at what other pieces of video are. So when I say against it, what I can tell you is, being around policing a long time, no trial or anything that's gone through the courts has been tested in the public and actually tried in the public. It doesn't work. It never's worked. And it actually can jeopardize the facts of the case, because at that particular time, there's still a lot of witnesses and evidence to be gathered, and you don't want to skew the gathering of that evidence. So that's what I refer to when I talk about that.
Now, ASIRT investigations can take years, which is unfortunate because people want answers to this sort of thing, and it also seems to push things back for accountability, because you can't comment on the specifics of the case in many of these areas, and that's frustrating for people who are looking for answers.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that, Mark. I mean, if I could, obviously, or any of our officers, including the officers involved, if they could speed up the process, I think it would be beneficial to all. I know the province has made some investments in ASIRT process. It is getting better. It is getting quicker, but it also is important that they do it right. I think the other thing that will obviously help get a lot of these answers and put some balance into this equation is the province legislating body cams. Because, as you see now, in real-time events in parts of our country, but also obviously the U.S. being several years ahead of this, that body cam footage can be made fairly quickly, right? Because it is evidence. So I think that will definitely help in this process, getting some of the information out and putting some of the story out when need be, but also to get that to ASIRT, more importantly, so they can actually speed the investigation up.
We found in Canada, though, in the investigations that CBC has done of some of these processes in different, and to be fair, it's different police forces across the country, that when there is body cam footage available, it isn't released very quickly, and so therefore, what is the point of that? Would you support it being released quicker?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what we're working on right now, Mark, in the province. Personally, I don't make those decisions provincially or nationally, but. I think in some of these cases, I think it's imperative that we get the information out, but I think it's important, as I said, first of all, making sure that the people doing the investigation, we're not going to jeopardize that. So, getting that information to them quickly is first and foremost. But yes, I think there's a benefit on the transparency side of getting this information out, good, bad, or indifferent. Every case is different, and it's not always going to be officer-involved cases in relation to shooting events, but weapons events, any kind of those particular altercations, I think are pretty imperative.
I guess what some people might feel is that if there's basically judgment calls on when that video is released, it seems that it would be, who is it the advantage of? In other words, okay, we're holding this video for a week because the investigators are looking at it. We're not releasing it for a month. And it brings into question of who's that to the advantage of?
Well, but that's what I said, good, bad, or indifferent, right? I think when you make a process, you got to live with the process. So I think those are the things that as we go down this, as a province that's now going down there, I think those are key decisions that we have to make. And I mean, I think if you look particular, I just used the incident in Calgary, just had one the other day. And, there is, from what I believe they would have body cam footage because all their people were body cams. So,
right.
I mean, it's just, we gotta obviously make sure that it's transparent, but it doesn't jeopardize investigations. But to your point is, when I say good, bad, or indifferent, it's, if there's something that needs to be dealt with, then that's important too.
Now, this summer, the family of Matthias Arcangelo have been publicly questioning, why he was shot by the officer. What would you say to the family while they wait for these answers?
Well, I mean, the answers will come, and you can't replace grief. And I mean, nobody wants to be in that situation. And so first of all, our thoughts and condolences, heartfelt thoughts and condolences to the family. But there are a lot of questions still to this. I mean, even from the initial call, I haven't personally seen the video because at some point, if it becomes a PSR investigation after the criminal's done, that's our public complaints process. Not the criminal part, but the other side.
Right.
I have to be unbiased on that. But what I do know is that original call, along the lines of impaired driving, rollover. We don't even know the circumstances of that yet. So, so I think there's a lot of pieces here that need to be put together. I do say I feel for them. And I think anybody within our police service always feels for family members. But I think it's also important that we find out for fact of all the evidence out there what happened, and for our officers as well. In fairness to them, I mean, as I said, our officers are mums and dads, and they have families, and this isn't something that you ever want to sign up that you have to do, but it's also part of the necessary police work that we have to do, so to protect ourselves and our citizens.
Chief, we appreciate coming in to dig into this. Thanks very much.
And thank you very much. And again, thank you for what you do.